Welcome to the ProMotion studio. Today we're joined by Chris Long. Chris, thanks for stopping by, man.
Thanks for having me now.
All right, so tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and how you got started playing music.
All right. Well, I'm from Southwest Virginia, from a little town called Jonesville, near Cumberland Gap. My dad was a musician, so I got to travel with him playing. He taught me how to play, and then thanks to John Mellencamp and Bruce Springsteen, well, I got the bug.
Well, that'll happen for sure. Tell me, what was the name of your dad's band?
The band he was in for the longest time was called Band X. And then me and him had a band called Slow Gin that we had for a little while. And we put out another album under Stonewall Gray. That was late 90s. And then Dad kind of got tired because there was no new songs coming out to play.
Okay.
so he took a break. And he gets out and plays with me sometimes, though, still yet. So we get out and he still jumps up and does the shows on the solo thing with me.
And we were talking a little bit about the area you grew up in, how kind of repressed it was.
To a point, yeah.
Yeah. And how did something like that kind of influence your songwriting, growing up in an area that wasn't so culturally evolved?
Growing up liking music that no one else around me liked was an experience.
Yeah.
But, we didn't have cable, so I didn't have MTV. I had my dad's records, and I had the radio. And we would get Tri-Cities radio out of East Tennessee, and then we would get Knoxville radio. And at the time, the top 40 stations played everything, so it was great. I had no idea what these people looked like, but I got to hear their music, unless I went to the record store. And being a rock and roll guy in a traditionally country, traditional music, gospel area, nothing against any of that, but it was a little different, and it still is. It's still a little bit like that today. People have their blinders on sometimes, I guess, to different types of music, but I wouldn't change the way it came up anyway in the world, though, because it made me who I am. And I think there's still people back home that may not know where Asbury Park, New Jersey is, but that's my. I'm eventually going to get to go one day. So,
that's your Mecca.
That is my Mecca. I'm going to go.
Right on. So I remember the trips to the small town record shop, and I'd always gravitate towards a band I hadn't heard before. I'd see like some album art or something, just be like, wow, this may or may not be good. I just got to check it out. Was there anything that you picked up then that was just like, you didn't know who they were, you hadn't heard them before, just an impulse buy?
The main one, and after I met the artist, changed everything, but when the movie Eddie and the Cruisers came out, and I had only seen the album cover from the soundtrack, I had no idea who John Cafferty was, didn't know what he looked like, didn't know anything. And then I found a John Cafferty album, and I bought the album by seeing the name on it. And then I got home and I looked at it, I'm like, that's not the guy in the movie. And, when you're a 10-year-old kid, you're just like, wait, what? And then you don't realize lip singing and stuff yet. And he's not Michael Paré. But then later on, I guess in the mid-'90s, I got to meet him. They came to the Sevier County Fairgrounds.
Yeah.
I did a motorcycle rally.
Oh,
and
wow.
they did a concert there. So it's the only chance I've ever had to see John Cafferty, and got to talk to him afterwards and everything. And now I can't see the other guy in the songs. Now I only see John. But yeah, I bought that one based just solely on the name on it. As far as album artwork, oh Lord, I don't even remember the name of the band, but it had a bomb on the front of it with wheels on the side of it. I'm like, that's cool. It wasn't. It was not cool. But it was a learning experience.
Yeah, sometimes you're going to grab... they can't all be winners. When you met John, did you tell him that story?
I didn't really have to.
Okay.
That was what was so neat about when I met him, was he's a super humble guy. He talked to me and Dad for like 40 minutes.
Nice.
And we talked about music and talked about, wish you'd do another album. And, I think there was some bad deals with the record companies. Scotty Brothers went out of business, and all those artists just kind of filtered away to the wind.
Yeah.
And that was, late 80s, early 90s. The labels were a lot different than they are now. But super nice guy, and it was I remember him saying, always play because you want to play, not because you're ever wanting to do anything else. Play because you want to play. And he said that to me and Dad. Dad had always told me that anyway, so it was like getting reinforcement from a hero. Just made it that much better. And there's not many people who even know who John Cafferty is anymore, and that's weird for me, because I like that East Coast rock and roll music. That's what I really gravitate toward.
So you've been writing, playing since you were young, and you took a bit of a break, I guess, to kind of just do life
I took a break because I was working in television.
Okay.
And you might work 5 days a week, 1 week, 7 the next week. You might be mornings, you might be nights, and I tried to juggle playing music in with that, and I just got married at the time, and it was just too hard to do. And the early 90s, or the early 2000s, sorry, I said the 90s, showing my age. That early 2000s was kind of a weird transitional music period too. It seemed like it was like things were changing faster than I was keeping up with, and I was kind of over the band thing, like fooling with keeping a band together and all that comes along with it. And some of my best friends were the musicians I played with, and I love them to death still to this day. Hardly ever see them, but I just don't want. At that time period, I just couldn't imagine going through all that anymore.
It's a lot of structured regimentation to make a band work, man.
Oh my gosh!
Practice, fitting a practice in once.
When you have 2 practices a week, and you're trying to do it easy, guys. Let's just do 2 practices a week, and then an hour into practice, half of them are still, they can't make it. Work gets in the way, life gets in the way, and being a solo artist or performing with a duo or something like that is just so much easier. You can manage it so much better.
Right. So how long have you been doing the solo kind of duo thing? Because you play a lot of these in the round sessions with local singer-songwriters as well. How long have you been back out doing that?
I got back out playing solo in 2014 when it's an interesting story. When I found out I was getting divorced at the time, and grabbed a guitar, went out to an open mic, and it just happened.
Yeah.
And some of the other artists that have been on this program, I met them doing that, and we became good friends. And there's this whole community of us out there now. The solo performing artist group of guys that we all know each other.
And that's such a great kind of culture to. It's always kind of been present in this area.
Yeah.
You've always had such a strong singer-songwriter tradition around here, and the way that they kind of lean on each other, creatively and influentially, it's like, well, that's how you improve. That's how you create a culture.
Right.
And a lot of you guys, you have very distinct sounds.
Yeah.
You're all very different. You all sound very different, but it's all very much Southern.
Yeah.
And not in the broadest sense of the term. I don't know how, it's not like pigeonholing what the South is.
Right.
But it's got a very distinctive Southern vibe.
Our friend Kanjo John, he's a DJ and a fantastic musician in his own right. He used a term called Appalachicana. And I'm like, that kind of fits all of us, because even the ones that have a little bit more poppy sound, it's still lyrically in that. It's all
drawn from a shared experience.
Right.
Whether you're talking about dark hollers or, sunny valleys, it's a commonality in that shared experience of being from the South. You've seen the same kind of icons and imagery and the same kind of culture shocks that everybody else has felt. So it's great that you guys have really banded together and that it continues to be such a powerful thing around here.
And what I think is so great about all of us having similar yet different sounds is when we play together, from the audience's perspective, you don't have that one person for 3 hours. You have these 3 different sounds that are all going together, sometimes 4, and it makes a neat experience. Even if I'm not playing and I'm sitting in the audience, I still love it when there's multiple guys playing and sharing their stories. And sometimes the stories aren't anything. It's like, hey, I made a guitar lick and I put words to it. There's the meaning behind the song. And I love that, but I also love it when somebody tells some heartbreaking great story that these lyrics came from that. And then you can sit there and you just become engrossed in the song. You're just like, man, this is fantastic. I love this.
Watching somebody distill that experience down into a song.
Exactly. That's what it's all about. And that was what brought my passion back into it. I still loved it even when I wasn't playing, but being able to write and create, and you'll write 20 songs for every one that you keep, and you store them away, maybe visit them again another day. And it's that passion to just keep pulling something out, come up with something different, something new, something as a tribute, sometimes, to people and stuff like that. And that refueled that passion and being in front of people playing. I just love being on a stage. It's just greatest feeling in the world.
And we're finally getting back to doing that. You were keeping busy during the quarantine, doing some live streams and stuff like that. How was that experience?
Completely like being on Mars. I mean, I grew up around bands, so you was always around a crowd. And then the first time we tried to do, I don't know if there's an insurance commercial where they're all messing up on the Zoom. The first Zoom we did was awful. It was terrible. It was like, can you hear me? It's not working. It's all that. And it was just like, getting around the technical glitches took away from getting to play. Yeah. And then I started doing a Monday night series that I do. I'm going to try to keep doing as long as I can. But it's weird because you're just playing to your phone. You're sitting there playing and there's just a phone looking back at you and you're looking at yourself the whole time. And then messages scroll up and it's just weird because you'll talk to people, they can't talk back. You have no idea what's going on out there. You're just kind of in the phantom zone, as you could say.
Yeah, and you can reach a great audience, and people that you may or may not otherwise have heard you, and be able to engage with them, kind of. Yeah. But I think it's a great thing that people were able to leverage that and take advantage of the technology at that time and keep themselves visible in people's faces and in their ears. Be like, I'm not going anywhere. Yeah. Keep listening. I'm waiting just to get back on the stage. So that's really, it's inspiring to see so many people that kept doing that and to see the response from the audiences as well.
And that's something about us as musicians, in every genre, you find a way around the situation. Like, we can't go out and play, so how are we going to do this? We got to play.
Music will adapt.
You got to play. We'll find a way around it. Let's use this time to go in the studio and record something, or let's write, or let's Zoom meeting each other and just talk, or let's look at Facebook and see who's selling what guitars this week. It's something. There's a way to keep the music going, even if it's not our traditional way. No. And once all this silliness is over, we'll be back to normal, and then the next thing will come along that we have to find our way through. So
that's absolutely right. So you have quite a guitar collection, from what I've been told as well.
Well, part of the cure is admitting you have a problem, and I was closing on triple digits at one time, and I started trading them off and getting new ones in and trading them off, and I got back down into the 60s. And I'm like, okay, this is I'm manageable. Now I'm back up into the 80s because every time I'm like, wow, that one's great, and I'll play it. I'm like, I don't have this one. I've never owned this one. Okay, I've got to give it a shot. And so I'm very, very blessed to have a understanding wife who
I think there are worse hobbies you can have than collecting guitars.
I don't know, because there's multiple rooms now.
They do take up space.
We have the granddaughter's room and then the guitar rooms, and then we've got a little corner over here no, it's not that bad. But no, it's I look at it, it's an investment to a point, because they will go up, and some go up in value, and sometimes it's just fun to collect them. Some people collect motorcycles, some people collect cars, and I happen to love a guitar, and I'm not a super great, wonderful guitar player, but I just love looking at them, and I love the
styles and models and everything.
There's some have stories behind them. It just makes you want to pick it up and play it. Like finding a guitar in a pawn shop that has seen better days, getting her home, polishing her up, getting all the dust off of it, putting new strings on it, and then what voice is this guitar going to have? What songs are hidden in this little guy that have never been brought out? And it's spiritual, I guess, when I buy one.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's something that's passion, I guess. It's passion for what you do.
What's one of your favorite ones that you ever owned? What's like
oh my gosh,
your white whale?
Well, there was a 3-day, 2-hour-a-day process figuring out what I was going to play today. When I first got back into it, I got a Paul Reed Smith Angelus acoustic, and I'll play it, and I love that guitar. But then it'll take a break, and it'll take a few weeks off, and then it'll come back, and all of a sudden, I keep going back to it. Which obviously, to me, in my mind, there's the favorite one. And I love my Gretches, I love my Gibsons, I love my Martins, I love my Fenders, I love my Guilds, I love my Takaminis, I love my even some Ibanez's, I love my there's part of the problem because I can have all. But I keep going back to that Pollard Smith. It's just like
that's something I hear from a lot of people. Yeah, play PRS is that you pick it up and it's just like, this makes sense.
Yeah,
it feels good in the hands, and it sounds great. The chord, the voicings, and everything. There's just,
and you know what I like about it is if I am doing transition between electric and acoustic and stuff like that at a show, it's an easy transition. Mm-hmm. And I love my Gibsons. Sometimes they're bulkier, and it's a bulkier guitar to play. Sometimes they're the ones I have, and every guitar is different. You can find two of the exact same guitars, set them side by side, and they will play differently. Mm-hmm. And this Pollard Smith, when I found her, I bought her used, and she's been kind of my, whenever there's indecisive, I go to the Paul. Right on. So that's I guess that she would be the one.
All right. So, any plans you got to release an album or something like that?
I've actually got 7.
You got 7 out?
Yeah. That I quit taking them to shows, and it's really I've never really pushed them. But I released one Virginia, and then I released Pastimes at the same time. I did 2 albums on one day, and I released both of those, but I released them like it shows. I didn't put them on Spotify or any of that stuff. Eventually, I guess I'm going to have to get to that to catch up with the 2020s. But right. When I release them at a show, and fans will buy them, people will buy them, and stuff like that. But both of those were where people had heard me play songs off of other stuff and songs that I've written that I never recorded, and I just kept a track of what people were listening to.
Right.
I did that.
That's a smart thing.
I would love to. I've got about 3 or 4 in the works that I've got ready.
3 or 4 songs or albums?
Albums. Kevin and everybody jokes that Chris just does box sets because I write constantly, and I'll get these themes in my head, and got one I want to put out called Appalachia Boardwalk, about being in love with music from New Jersey but living in Appalachia. Okay. And it's a kind of a themed album, but it's fun. It's fun. It's me growing up and feeling like the black sheep of everybody else because I just didn't fit in. But it's fun. It's not like one of those woe is me melancholy. Yeah, that story. But I need to record that album. I've been saying that for a year, but I'm wanting to record it. I will get her out there. I play all the songs at shows. So
how do you keep track of your songs? You got like a binder of stuff, or you got it all follow online? Or
I have an electronic brain that has I'm written over 1,000 songs, so there's they're all on there, and I'll be going through it, and I'll be like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "God, I wrote that. That's pretty cool." And but and in that folder, I always drag ones over that I really want to make sure stay over here. But like I said, you're right, 10, 15, 20 for every one you keep. So no. I keep them all in an electronic thing, and I've got multiple copies on multiple discs scattered throughout the house.
Well, there you go.
In the fireboxes and in the safes, and I keep one at school in my desk just in case. So it's
yeah. So you got backups upon backups. You got some safety measures there.
I have this problem of being paranoid. I'm like, man, I've worked too hard on this. I don't want to lose it. And,
no, that's brilliant. That's smart though. So when you're writing, do you like to challenge yourself? You're talking about like writing about Appalachia love and music from Jersey. You like to write what you know, but that seems like a challenge to follow that theme.
It happens, and that's what. And my wife came out, and I was sitting at the picnic table, and I was struggling. I couldn't get it. And she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, I wanted to write a song about this." And she goes, "Why?" I'm like, I don't know. I just wanted to write a song about this. She goes, "Well, you don't need to write that. You need to just wait until you get that inspiration and write it." And the next day I ended up going a completely different route and writing the song that I was wanting to write. And I'm like, okay, there's the key. I can't think about what I'm writing. It just has to happen.
Just organic.
Yeah. And I had to learn to quit watching the news pretty much because everything was depressing. So I had to, and then, and that was the truth. I had to literally just turn the TV off and go outside and sit around and just wait for something to inspire me.
Got to wait for those thoughts to kind of
Yeah.
You got to filter out all the BS that you get inundated with every day and wait until those actual genuine your thoughts come back.
And the sad thing is even if you're writing you can have a completely almost a melancholy line or a story in an upbeat song, and it'll camouflage itself. And I like to focus a lot on the lyrics when I'm writing. So that you run into it, but you can dig yourself into a hole. Next thing you know, everything is just so, like you said, you get stuck in that and you can't get your mind off of it. And that's what I've had to do. Just shake it off. And this week I made a point to sit down and work on cover songs because I haven't played a lot. Or, I have my standards that I go to, but I'm like, I want to learn some new ones, some new covers that I've not played or haven't played in 20 years and take those out and not write this week. So I only wrote 2 songs this week because
only 2 songs.
When you're sitting around and you're writing or you're trying to learn something else and you play it wrong, you're like, wait a minute. Oh, I like that. That was wrong, but now that's mine. So what can I do with it? And that's what usually happens.
Right on. So where can people catch you live usually? You play a lot around this area in Virginia as well. So
yeah, I play Backwoods Burger in Kingsport. I'll play there. Play Our House in Johnson City quite a bit. Jonesboro Barrel House, I'll play there. Jiggy Ray's Pizza in Elizabethton. I'm down this way a little bit. We play at the Townsend Abbey about once a month. We do that as a songwriters round, so there's 3 of us playing. Lord, there's a lot of places. It's I know we're booking into next year, so it's
right on.
It's a lot of places. I think we're going to be back in Gatlinburg at the brewery up there, so that's going to be nice. I've not been there. Can't wait to do that.
Yeah, it's a great spot. Really fun place to play. Where can people find your music online?
Right now, it's just on. If you go to my Facebook page, I'll post videos on there. But also, I'm still one of those guys that has a Reverb Nation page. So I have a lot of the older stuff posted. The newer stuff I've not been putting on there because, we're going to be, I'm looking to go a different direction with some of the newer stuff. But if the older songs that I've been doing for a while, they're all up there. You can just log on, listen to them, check them out. And
right on.
There's some concerts on there, some shows that I've played down at places like Grinder House and places like that. We have full shows up from those. So you can catch a show if you can't come out, or you can watch the live thing.
Yeah, right on.
Shoot me a request.
So pick your poison. You can catch Chris live. You can catch him streaming on Facebook as well on Monday nights. And man, thanks for stopping by.
Oh, not a problem.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me.
And don't forget to like and subscribe down below. Drop a comment. That way you don't miss another ProMotion live session.